Coming up on All About Android, it's me, Jason Howell, and my co-hosts Florence Ion and Ron Richards. We talk all about app permission auto-revoking and how it came to Android 11, but now it's dating back all the way to Android 6 with an update. That's pretty cool. Also, Pixel 6 and Pixel 6 Pro marketing is in full effect right now, apparently. Speaking of Pixels, a Pixel foldable might actually be a real thing by the end of the year, and not just one kind, but possibly two. The Zombie Note might be coming back next year, and all about widgets plus your emails coming up next on All About Android.
Podcasts you love
from people you trust.
This is Twit.
This episode of All About Android is brought to you by Hover. Whether you're a developer, photographer, or small business, Hover has something for you to expand your projects and get the visibility you want. Go to hover.com/twit to get 10% off your first purchase of any domain extension for the entire first year. Hello and welcome to All About Android, episode 543, recorded on Tuesday, September 21st, 2021. Your weekly source for the latest news, hardware, and widgets. That's right. No apps today, but we got lots of widgets. For the Android faithful, I'm Jason Howell.
And I'm Ron Richards, and I'm all about widgets.
And I'm Florence Ion, and I am all about widgets. So I'm very excited for us to go all in on the widgets.
Goodness.
Which by the way, everyone, let us not forget, Android had them before iOS.
Truth.
Trendsetters. They were honestly innovative, set the bar.
Yep.
Whatever.
Yep. They were
out.
Getting real tired of like getting worked out on Android and then like embraced by iOS. Don't get me started here.
It's just the way it goes. At this point, we should be used to it, right? It's just no one wants to admit that it's a weakness of Apple. They can't just do this, ahead of Android and like create the widget. They've got to follow along. A lot of people give them credit for it, but we don't, because we know we see through them. We see right through Apple.
OG widgets.
Having said that, like, does anyone on this panel have like active widgets on their home screen that you use regularly?
Yes, I do.
Yes. Oh, okay. All right.
I just have the power toggle widget that I still use. Remember that one back in the day, Jason?
Yeah, I remember that. Yes, I do.
Still got that one. And then I have my Wise cameras that are in the kids' rooms. There's a little widget that one tap opens up the video view of it. So I use that.
That's handy. Okay. What about you, Flo? You've got them.
Yes, I have a calendar widget from one of the Play Pass apps. It's a nice little calendar widget that I can pan through as I need. I used to have some action blocks on here. I have it on another phone. And of course, I have my Google Keep, and I have my scratch pad, and I have my Google Fit widget, which tells me how many move minutes I've had. So widgets are still very much on my heart and on my mind.
Yeah, apparently so. Maybe I'm the only one that like moved along and didn't include widgets. My home screen just turned into an archive like layout of icons to launch apps, but organized. That's just I kind of ventured away from the widgets. I have a widget right now.
Back home screen. You want a back home screen to be like your dumping ground as you need.
Dumping ground for quick access. Icons. I mean, I do have one widget. It's the clock widget that we talked about last week that I put on here just to show it off, and then I never removed it because it's on a different screen. But that's why I said last week, like, I think when Android 12 comes out and when the new Pixel 6 comes out, which of course we're going to talk about later in the show, I'm probably going to like refresh my approach on how I set up my home screen, at least for a little while, and try and go all in on how Google recommends their widgets play a part in this, because apparently they're like doubling down on widgets. So that's
or
the
tripling
plan.
Down. I feel like
or tripling or quadrupling.
Or tripling.
Yeah.
They've been long committed.
Yes, indeed.
It's just us. Indeed. We need to commit.
Oh, that's true. Wizardling in Discord points out that there is the Google search widget, and I suppose, but can you even remove that if you want to? Like I do use it all the time. So
yes,
even if it was removable, can you? Yep. So I'm going to click on that.
First thing I do.
Preferences.
I do not use widgets, by the way.
Oh, hold on. I didn't set this up before, so I'm going to try and see if maybe... why do I do this right when we start the show?
I know that sound.
Yeah, this is because I'll show you, although you're probably going to get some on-screen thing like from the camera.
No, remember, it's all turned off.
Oh, okay. So I'm talking about this little Google search widget, but I can't remove it. If I tap and hold it, I only get preferences. And then when I go there, search box effects is the only thing I get. If I wanted to... No, I can't. I mean, unless I use the launcher.
It's like the nav bar settings, I think, or something like that.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I would think that I could
at
get
least,
there. Okay.
Unless something drastic changed, or if you're running some beta software.
Oh, well, that I am. And let me just say, it's been especially this past week, I've grown to really agree with what you were saying, Flo, about this beta being buggy, because I've encountered some serious bugs. Bugtastic all week long. Yeah, I've had to restart my phone a number of times.
Oh?
Whatever. It's beta software. Yes, you're right. Okay, Flo. You were right. You were right. There you go.
I still feel like the last beta before the release, historically, the same thing has happened like last year and the year before, etc. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like this is. I feel like we've done this before.
Yeah, it's possible. We got a lot of shows in our in the can here. It's very possible that we've had this before. Just seems a little strange. All right, let's dive right in. We've got some news to talk about, so let's get to it right now with the news.
Hey, Oppo. I see you over there, sucking out all the OxygenOS on Android News.
Oh, okay.
That was a good one, Burke. I like that.
It was.
And I like that too. It's a really good deep cut for just like the true Android enthusiast who knows that what we're about to talk about.
Totally.
Which is that here on All About Android, we are talking about what will be a very big change for some of us to go away from OxygenOS into the previously existing ColorOS. Yes, that's happening. It's happening. So OnePlus CEO Pete Lau this week talked to a couple of journalists. The Verge was one of them, and gave a couple more details on kind of what the trajectory will be for the next batch of, for what OnePlus is coming up to next. So OnePlus will run Oppo's ColorOS in future versions. We kind of know that the first phone that's going to officially run this is the next big OnePlus flagship, so I guess that would be the OnePlus 10. We also know, by the way, that the OnePlus 9T is not going to happen. So the T-Series incremental updates, not on the docket at this time. However, if you have a OnePlus 8 or a OnePlus 9, either of the two, the regular or the Pro, you are going to get the new OS beta beginning, the 9 will get the new OS beta beginning next month, and the 8 users will get the new OS beta beginning in December. So you'll be able to try that out before it comes officially to the phone. This new ColorOS is supposed to be in full effect by August 2022, or by the next, the new OS will be out in 2022, but it'll be in full effect by the next major Android update, which could be as late as the end of next year, which is typically when the next Android updates come up. So, things to look forward to. I've seen a couple screenshots of the ColorOS. I have used it before on the Oppo Find. The last Oppo phone I used was the Find X2. So-and-so, I forget the full name of it. And it wasn't bad, but I also really do like the OxygenOS experience. So here's to hoping they don't change it too drastically.
What about the Oxygen experience do you like? I'm just curious. I mean, I was on a OnePlus for years, and I thought I want to hear your answer, then I'll share what my thought was. But what about Oxygen?
I like some of the extra bits that they add to it, so I think that will stay. For instance, I've had expanded screenshots on OxygenOS for a few versions now, compared to it just coming to Android 12. The couple other I like the interface is close to that. I'm not quite ready for the change that Material U is bringing. So I kind of like the little bit leftovers in OxygenOS.
Well, my experience with OxygenOS, admittedly, it was a few years ago now, but I didn't notice a discernible huge difference from stock Android and OxygenOS, which was the right thing to do, right? If it's, yes, there's little things like the expanded screenshots and little things like that, but ultimately the best kind of operating system is the one that doesn't get in your way and isn't a huge leap from one to the other. And especially with an Android port, that's what I'm ultimately looking for. And so I think OxygenOS was good, but I can't tell you like, oh man, I cannot live without this feature in OxygenOS.
Yeah. I agree. There's no like live without feature. It has all the same things as the Pixel, except the camera that's impeccable in every situation. Yeah.
Ooh, burn. Yeah, I'm curious. Sorry. I thought that was good. I thought
it was a burn. Listen, it was my daughter's baptism this last weekend, and I had to shoot it with the OnePlus 9. And I can tell you, I wish many times that I'd had a Pixel in my hand instead.
Yeah. Well, they're working. It's better than it has been, but you're right. I mean,
I agreed. It is much better than it has been. But you can't move when you take a picture. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And that actually poses a really big problem when taking pictures, especially of kids. Like that's where you really see the difference, low light or in that movement situation. I just put a link into the Slack and to the doc, Burke, of an XDA developers article, actually from July 6th, when this merger was kind of first bubbling up, when we were first finding out about it. XDA did, if you go about halfway down the article, you'll start to see some side-by-sides. As far as like from a straightforward kind of UI perspective, I really wanted to kind of get a sense, because I've never, above that. There you go. Those are your side-by-sides. I can't say that I've spent much time, if at all, with ColorOS. I mean, I'm sure I've pawed at Oppo devices, like when we had Matteo on or someone on in the studio and they brought one, or maybe even you brought one into the studio at some point, Flo. But I've never like really spent the time to side by side to understand what a difference between a ColorOS and an OxygenOS actually means on a device. I know that OxygenOS I have liked in the past, and then there was the recent kind of redesign of OxygenOS that turned a lot of people off, and I really didn't mind it. I thought it was fine. In the end, it was a little less vanilla, let's say, but I didn't think that any of the changes that they made were like, horrible or disgusting or anything. I thought it was pretty okay.
No,
and what I'm looking at. Yeah. What I'm looking at with ColorOS, I mean, seems very, very similar. I mean, of course it's different. The UIs are different, but they're very much in the same vein. And I don't know. I wonder how much at the end of the day this is really going to matter, I guess is where I'm going with that. But people get really precious about this stuff too. People are like, no, I want the thing and only the thing that I like. That OxygenOS, that's the only way to do it. That's what I prefer. And it's just kind of, that's how it is on Android, because we have so many of these different options. It's easy to find the thing that you identify closest with, and you don't want to steer very far away from that if you can help it. So I understand. And also too.
Also, everyone fears change, especially in this space. Yeah. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But
by the way, unlockable bootloader, whatever. All that enthusiast tinkering ability will remain in ColorOS, so don't worry. OnePlus is not getting rid of that. They know that they have the one niche in there that they can really hold on to. So,
yeah, that's important, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Cool, awesome. All right, Ron, you got the next one.
Well, it is a rare time that Google introduces a feature that is backward compatible, but here we are. This is kind of interesting. Android 11 brought a privacy feature for auto resetting app permissions when not being used for a set period of time. So if you download an app, you don't use it for X number of months, then it's going to roll back the permissions so that the app can't do something sneaky behind you and that sort of thing. Which is great if you had Android 11, which is about 10% of Android devices. But now Google will be backporting this feature all the way back to Android 6. And that means about 84.9% of users will have access to it. It'll hit devices via the Google Play Services update, and the rollout should be complete by Q1 2022, which is March 2022. which is like 6 months from now, but still. And you might remember that Android 6 was the introduction of Doze and App Standby in terms of features for the operating system. And also important to note that Android 12, which is imminent, will introduce app hibernation, which will delete the cache, eliminate background access, and disable push notifications for unused apps. So it seems like there's a lot of tech debt that happens in these operating systems and a lot of like cobwebs and all that stuff. Seems like Google's cleaning house a little and helping you keep your device pretty clean by managing those apps that you download that you just don't use. Which I will say the other day, I was going through my apps and seeing like last accessed, and there's a couple in there that I haven't opened for like 2 years. And I'm like, why is that still on my phone? Let me just get rid of it. So there was literally a game I downloaded on the subway, I think my last day in the office before the pandemic, and I just never played it. So, yeah.
No, that day's coming. That one day where that game is going to find its way. Yeah, it's coming.
Hey, wait a minute. Let me check out this game. But this is a cool thing. And having it be backward compatible is not only good for everyone in the community, but it shows that they can do it.
Yeah.
So I like that.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, right? Pushing this out, Google Play services to devices all the way back, devices that, what is it? Android 6 is 5 years old. October 2nd, 2015 is when that was released. So that's a good distance in the past to roll out a very important feature. Like, I think this is actually a really great way for people to get better control over what's happening with their data. And obviously, I don't know what kind of technical wrangling actually happened behind the scenes, but it doesn't strike me as the kind of feature that would be really difficult to implement. And so maybe this is the result of that. They can bake it into Google Play services. Once again, Google Play services ends up kind of being the conduit to allowing Google to, take control of these devices that aren't getting maybe meaningful OS updates anymore. But this is a pretty meaningful update that comes via Google Play services. And I love seeing more of that, especially with a feature like this. So great news.
Agreed.
Okay, great. We have settled on agreement on this one. Good. Continuing forward. Speaking of Google Play services, now rolling out via a server-side update is the ability for Android 12 users to delete a device's advertising ID. And you might recall, we talked about this not too long ago. This was back in June. Apple had made some changes to iOS that allowed you to do this, to really tighten up privacy on their devices. Google announced its intent in June to include this feature to really give users the ability to have more control over their data, their privacy, their security. Essentially, before this, users could opt out of personalized ads on their device, but that didn't actually stop developers from having access to a device's advertising ID, which essentially meant that the device could technically still be tracked in some way, shape, or form, still identifiable. And so this is just a way for a user to really go one step further and say, no, I'm turning off this advertising data sharing, and my device no longer has an identifier that can be recognized or tracked or figured out or whatever. So this puts zeros in the space there in its place. And another notable update. This is only coming to Android 12 users, but one could, see a time in the future where what happened with the previous story with the app permissions and the auto revoking, why couldn't that happen here? I don't know what the technical aspect of this is once again, but kind of seems like if this is coming out through a server-side update via Google Play services, this would be another very valuable feature to roll out to previous devices, previous versions. So I think it's good news.
And it's good. It's a good asset against Apple.
Yeah, it's kind of like keeping up with what Apple is doing. Apple, the shining light of privacy, and I'll go ahead and put that in air quotes.
Yeah, that's sarcasm, everyone.
Yeah,
yeah.
Right.
There's not. If you want to be private, go into a cave underground. That's it.
There you go. That's all you got. That's your only option. So anyway, so that's a good feature as well. All right, let's take a break, and then we'll get into some hardware news. But first, this episode of All About Android is brought to you by Hover. It's time to make plans and to bring Hover into the fold, because Hover is going to help you achieve those plans. If you're a blogger creating a portfolio, if you're building an online store, maybe you just want to, make a more memorable redirect to something like your social media page or your LinkedIn page or something like that. Hover has the best domain names and email addresses just for you. Now, email at your domain name, it's really key when we're talking about connecting with customers. We're talking about building trust for your brand. It just seems way more trustworthy to get an email at your domain name. Getting one from Gmail, like we all have Gmail accounts. It just makes more sense. If you've got a URL, if you've got a website, having that email coming in through your domain name just gives it that extra step of legitimacy. They have domain-based emails for all your needs, small or large. Super easy to set up. You can add as many mailboxes to your domain as you need. When your domain renews, your mailboxes are going to renew as well. Unbeatable prices. Their most popular mailbox is a no-brainer solution for business owners. You get access from anywhere, which means you can use the email app that you're already comfortable with. And if apps aren't your thing, they have webmail that can be accessed wherever you happen to be. I've been a Hover user for years at this point. Primarily, I think the thing that I appreciate most about Hover is that it eliminates the complication and the difficulty, the kind of confusion that I've experienced getting my domains through other services, especially if I have to make changes on the back end where things are redirecting, that sort of stuff. I've just found the shopping experience for the domain is dead simple. The setup behind the scenes is dead simple. Everything is just made easy for someone like me who can really get in there and muck things up if I'm not careful. It's like I know enough to get myself into trouble usually. And with Hover, that doesn't happen. Hover isn't here to upsell you on stuff you don't need. They just want to help. They have pro-level tools, so powerful domain and email management tools, super intuitive, easy to use, whether you're a web pro or you're just getting started, like I said. Who is privacy protection included with your domain purchase? Your private information is going to remain private. It's a great way to, reduce spam and protect yourself from unwanted solicitations, that sort of thing. And then Hover Connect lets you pick the service that you want to use to build and host your website. Connect actually helps you start using your domain name with just a couple of clicks. At Hover, you're a customer, you're not a source of data, so you can take back control of your data with reliable, tracker-free email. Hover is trusted by hundreds of thousands of customers who use their domain names and email to turn their ideas into a reality. And now it's time for you to turn your idea into a reality. Whether you're a developer, photographer, small business, Hover has something for you to expand your projects and get the visibility that you want. Just go to hover.com/twit. You'll get 10% off your first purchase of any domain extension for the entire first year. That's hover.com/twit for 10% off your domain extension for a full year. Hover is awesome. You really need to check it out for yourself. And we thank Hover for their support of All About Android. We've had Hover on the show for a very long time, so it's great to have your continued support. And that's just because they're awesome. So go check it out. All right, we've got some interesting stuff coming up in hardware. If you like pixels, that's coming up right now. Got to kind of apologize in advance because it is totally pixel season. Even though pixels haven't happened, all the news
pixel
is about
season.
Pixels right now.
It's fair. It's pixel season. And listen, and we have to get in the right mindset. We need to start getting ready to celebrate pixel season. You want to get your sweaters out. You want to get your pumpkin spice, whatever drinks that people drink. It's pixel season. So just get ready. But we're not just talking about pixels. We're also talking about foldables because I don't know if you remember. Do you guys remember earlier this year, there was a lot of hubbub, a lot of buzz about Google releasing a foldable in the Pixel line, right? We saw that.
Absolutely.
The thing, the Samsung Glass, they talked about Google using their Pixels and all sorts of stuff. Then all this chatter stopped. It seemed like it was just silence. It was quiet out there in the world in terms of the words pixels and foldables. But luckily, it's been reignited. It's back. The dream of Pixel foldables might become a reality in the form of 2 foldable devices. All right, codenamed Jumbojack, which would be a Galaxy Flip style device, and Passport.
Code name.
Yeah, well, they're just code names, whatever. And Passport, a Galaxy Fold style device, which is like whatever, kind of like Passport's a little on the nose. Thank you very much. But so basically, both would be mirroring similar to the Samsung devices that are out there. References to these have been found in the Android code base, which is always a good indicator. And then this week, friend of the show, EvLeaks, he tweeted out, "Heard from someone I trust that the foldable Pixel, codename Passport, retail branding unknown, will indeed launch before the end of the year. Apparently, they've been working on this device for over 2 years, and if the P6 is any indication, it'll be worth a look." And then also to add onto this dog pile, 9to5 Google shared that Jumbojack, which they should just call the phone Jumbojack. It should just like forget the code name. That should just be the product name. Jumbojack is coming thanks to multiple instances of Jumbojack being used as a tester device. Fascinating there. And then finally, XDA reported that Android 12.1, an out-of-cycle update, would focus on foldable functionality, bringing foldable functionality to the new operating system. So essentially an update that would land somewhere between Android 12 and Android 13. I mean, 12.1 is early in the release cycle, right? So what do you guys think? Do you think that a Pixel foldable is closer to reality?
Yes.
Or is this more?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so there's fire where there's smoke.
Yes. Well,
Close.
do you want to use that metaphor with me and Jason? But yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, good point. Sorry.
I'm a little traumatized right now, Ron. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Okay, so why? Okay, Flo, you were fast to say yes and emphatic. Why?
Because I have noticed the last couple of years, I mean, even in 2019, they were telling us that they were working on foldable displays, or excuse me, making Android be able to accommodate folding screens and multiple displays. And so the fact that they were working on this internally with Samsung and testing the devices that are out currently on the market, I mean, it just makes sense that Google would try to do it themselves. And with this big push that they're doing right now, and we're all talking about how much money they're going to spend on marketing, and oh my God, the Pixel 6 is going to be like this huge thing. We're really pushing it through. It just feels like this is the thing that they would follow up with.
Okay. Now, so now what EvLeaks was talking about by the end of the year, if we expect the Pixel 6 event to happen sometime middle of the next month, we're probably a month out from, we're all guessing here. We have no actual details on this, but based on previous years, based on the past, we're about a month out from either an event or the launch of the device or both. That's probably a month to a month and a week or two away. Yeah. That takes us to the end of October. The end of the year, really, that only leaves, November and December. That leaves a couple of months for Pixel to announce a foldable? Is that kind of indeed launch? So EvLeaks is saying a launch, which implies a release. Yep. I don't know. I think the closer you get to Christmas time, the harder it is to do that. Like, you want to kind of capitalize on a little bit of extra time leading up so that you capitalize on some energy around that. So that almost makes it seem like if this is going to happen by year's end, it almost needs to happen in November. And could you see Google doing the Pixel 6 event in October and releasing by the end of the month, and then a month later doing a Pixel event?
No.
Right? Because they would do an event with a foldable. They would have to, I would think, anyways. Maybe they wouldn't, but I would guess so.
It's definitely a buzzwordy enough to.
Yeah,
now, here's the thing.
Totally.
Here's the thing, though. We don't know. An event is coming up, right? So who's to say that they're not going to pull a one more thing at the upcoming event?
They very well could.
That's optimistic of you, Ron.
Yeah.
I mean, it's optimistic, but it's not totally unrealistic either, because if we're just talking about a month, it actually kind of makes sense. I would just be really amazed if they could keep a lid on this. If that's true, that Google could successfully keep a total lid on this. I mean, this is a little bit of information, but we're nowhere near the point that we usually are when a Pixel is coming out, where it's like, okay, we literally know everything. We've seen, it leaked to people and hands-ons, and Google has gotten out ahead of the leaks and started to show it off. If Google could successfully button this up and keep it from leaking, that's a Herculean effort on their part and their marketing team. That's a pretty big accomplishment.
Well, but here's the question though. right? They put the dang Pixel 6 in the window at the Google store in Manhattan.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Right? They are proactively showing everyone what the big reveal is at the event. Isn't that a pretty good distraction to hiding something that we don't know about?
That is a distraction.
I don't know if they're hiding it. I still
Not
don't
hiding
think
it,
we're
but I'm
gonna
just saying
have
that are they distracting? They're distracting from. They think
Look
that
over
this is
here.
gonna. Yeah, this is gonna be the thing, and when you least expect it, here's a foldable.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't
Could
know.
be. One thing that occurs to me on the foldables before we get over to the 6 and the 6 Pro is that if you take a look at that Ars Technica article, Ron has made a very elegant side by side of the, of what the Passport. So basically, Ron is comparing the Passport to the Z Fold 3 5G. That's what you see in the thing, and then Jumbojack to the Galaxy Z Flip 3 5G, because those are the form factors that supposedly these two devices are going to emulate, or be not that Google's copying Samsung, but that's the form factor that they're going to be. But
Hold
doesn't
on.
it seem?
Sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry to
go.
interrupt.
sorry.
It came to mind. Let us not forget the leaks that we have reported on here at All About Android saying that there is a Samsung display in this apparent Pixel device. So,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No,
Well,
yeah,
that's a really great point.
Right, they're using the glass. That's where the leaks came from a couple of months ago.
Yeah,
right.
that's a really great point. Yeah, thank you for reiterating that. What occurs to me when I look at these photos is that why did they call the Fold 3? Why did they call
Jason,
that the
where is that?
Passport?
Where are the
It's
photos?
the Ars Technica article.
At the very beginning?
The foldable phone
Okay.
plans Ars Technica article. They called the large fold device the Passport. You know what? As I'm saying this, I'm like, it totally doesn't matter at all. But for whatever reason in my brain, it does. Why is the larger device the Passport and the smaller device the Jumbojack? That doesn't make any sense to me.
That's a
Why
good
would
point.
you do that?
Good point.
It seems like the smaller one would be the Passport, because your Passport isn't like a giant, tablet-sized thing, and something that's called a Jumbojack would be pretty large. So I don't know.
well, a
Anyways.
Jumbojack is Jack in the Box's flagship hamburger. So
Is
I
it
wonder
big?
if that's supposed to be but I wonder if that's supposed to be the flagship handset, and then the Passport is the niche, like specialized situation.
See, now I'm just thinking of hamburgers, and I want to eat one.
I want a Jack in the Box hamburger right now. Not gonna lie, since you all said Jumbojack.
Oh, I don't know that I've ever said that I wanted a Jack in the Box anything.
It's
but-
$1.79, or no, that was in 2011. Sorry, it's not $1.79 anymore.
Oh, so this is going to be a cheap phone then.
So
what it
cheap,
means.
so cheap, so cheap.
Their small foldable is going to be a really cheap burger-like device. Good. Good to something to look forward to. All right.
It's so
Flo,
hard
you got
doing the
next
show it's so hard doing the show at dinner time, like, because Jason and I are so hungry.
one. Totally.
At least
ate,
Ron gets to eat something. Yeah, Ron gets to
Yeah.
eat something before, but anyway. Okay, let's get back to actual phones we know that are coming, which is the Pixel 6 and the Pixel 6 Pro. It's just been absolute hype. As Jason mentioned, we saw them in the window in New York City, so you can walk by the Google store and get yourself a little glimpse, take a picture with it, whatever you want to do. There's also billboards in the major cities. So I do not recall if I've seen a billboard in San Francisco, but regardless, we know Google is really serious about its marketing, isn't it, Jason?
Yeah, very serious. They're taking it seriously.
It is very serious about its marketing. Very serious.
I mean, and
All
we knew we knew that Google, we had heard a couple of months ago that the leaks were that Google was going to go all out, full force, on marketing this device. And
Yes.
boy, they started early on this one. So if this is kind of like pre-hype marketing, I'll be really curious to see how much they double down or triple down or quadruple down on their post-release hype marketing.
I have a feeling that cable TV is going to be insufferable this holiday season, as every commercial break is just going to be the three smartphones competing: Samsung, Apple, and Google. So brace yourselves, everyone, psychologically for that. We do know there's the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro coming. So the devices have hit the FCC, and we got a couple more details from that. Some of them support mmWave 5G, which is good if you're on Verizon. Others support the sub 6 gigahertz 5G, which is good if you're on T-Mobile. But all of them support Wi-Fi 6E, which is pretty important to existing in the wireless space in 2021. We're seeing that just across the board, laptops, smartphones, everything from A to B, A to Z. I think A to Z.
Or A to B, A to Z, same thing. Yeah.
Anyway.
As long as A to B is to C to D, then anyway.
XDA actually had a lot of details to share. I saw earlier today, or maybe it was yesterday, Moshal doing a whole Twitter thread about some of the details they found. And they do have a source with a 6 Pro in possession, so that's where this information comes from. So there's apparently dynamic 120 hertz refresh rate. So based on your activity, the display will adjust accordingly. That will be interesting to see. A, how that works, B, how that works on battery life, and C, how that works with the naked eye. So will I be able to tell the difference between whatever hertz this is operating at the same way I could between a 60 and a 90? TBD, to be determined. There's going to be ultra wideband support, which is, up to par with every other phone coming out. 5G modem from Samsung included. There's going to be a lot of 5G monikers attached to this phone. 12 gigs of RAM, so that pits it up there as an enthusiast device. And this is the Pro again that I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. And a 5,000 milliamp battery, which feels like enough for kind of that pro level device. XTA also had an exclusive on the Tensor chip, which we've all been sort of like trying to understand in theory. I've been reading a lot of articles just sort of trying to dial down what this chip actually is. The Tensor chip has 2 Cortex X1 2.8 gigahertz chips, which is ARM's most powerful Cortex CPU. Having 2 on 1 SoC, it's a first of its kind. So there's a lot of just boom, pow marketing effect with all of this right now. It's always hard to talk about chips because it's always so theoretical, right? I've had such a hard time talking about this in the 10 plus years I've been covering this stuff. But this could make it... Yeah, this could make this TPU, so-called, one of the fastest chips in a smartphone device. So I guess there's another ding against Apple, or at least an attempt. And Mashal was on Tech News Weekly last week, by the way, where he kind of helped detail some of the ins and outs of this TPU chip. So that's something to check out if you want to go into the Twit archives and get a little explainer from Mashal himself. And I will say a big thanks to the blogs that have been dialing this down for some of us because, again, theory.
Yeah.
There's a reason a lot of us didn't major in philosophy.
Right, but what sells, right?
Theories.
Yeah.
Pavlovian dogs. I don't know.
Yeah. No, but it is nice to see. It is nice to see a little grounding happening. That's for sure. So.
Yeah. I have a feeling we're going to be seeing a lot of benchmarks just to kind of give us some more theoretical numbers on how this thing operates. But the real test, of course, is always a year from now. How does the chip hold up?
How does it last? Long term.
You're skeptical, right, Flo, of this whole chip?
I am a skeptic. Yeah, I'm a skeptic.
Why?
Like,
are you a skeptic of the Apple M1?
Yes.
Okay, so you're skeptical of anybody who's created their own chip?
Yes.
Why?
Because I reserve to be skeptical until there's just, oh God, I don't want to turn this into
prove themselves.
Yeah, I don't want to turn this into like a conversation like we've been having about other parallel conversations. But when it comes to gadgets, it's all marketing to me until I really see that long-term durability.
You need to see like a consistency and not just flash in the pan.
Precisely.
But you got to start somewhere, right? I mean,
Yeah.
if you were covering tech in the 70s or 80s, you'd be like, Intel. I don't know if they're going to make it.
That's true. I probably would have an air of cynicism.
Yeah.
Yes.
IBM or forever. The 8088. Can't go wrong with that. 12 megahertz.
Megahertz.
We're so far.
Man,
away
I
from
remember when I
megahertz.
got my first 386 and it was like, oh my God, this is doing 33 megahertz.
Wow.
My, how things have changed.
Yep.
Yeah, I get lost in the weeds when it comes to like chip performance and stuff like that. I appreciate reading through it, but then by the end, I'm kind of like, okay, but what does that mean? It's usually where I end up on the other side of that. So that's why I definitely recommend for those of you who really care about like chip performance and what the Google Tensor chip is likely to be able to do down the line. Like there's still a lot of unanswered questions. But the interview with Michal on TNW was actually really great. He talks about this stuff so clearly and obviously understands it on a level that I'm just along for the ride. So maybe that's you too. So it's twit.tv/TNW201 and you can check that out. He goes into the detail because he was the one that posted the exclusive. So he's about as close to it as can be. So check that out. And I'm optimistic for the chip. I mean, not again from my perspective of not really understanding the architecture as much as a lot of other people. I think the fact that it has the two Cortex X1 chips in there is a pretty darn promising thing, considering we haven't really seen that before, and one of them is just a super powerful CPU. So yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's going to be I would be really curious to see how Google captures what the Tensor chip can do from a performance standpoint, but then also from that AI standpoint, which is really what Google has done so far to tease in advance to say, hey, this chip is going to enable us to do so much more with on-device AI processing. And what does that actually mean for the consumer? I'm really curious about that. And I'm pretty optimistic because they do good things with AI.
Not to distract, but I just looked up on Wikipedia the 386 processor.
Yeah.
And according to this, it said they discontinued it in 2007.
What?
Isn't that crazy?
Why that late?
When was it launched?
It was launched
85.
in 1985. October 1985, the 386 came out. And it was discontinued September 28, 2007. And it says... in May 2006, Intel announced that 386 production would stop at the end of September 2007. Although it had been long obsolete as a personal computer, Intel continued making the chip for embedded systems, aerospace, electronic musical instruments. Some mobile phones also used the 386 processor, such as the BlackBerry 950 and Nokia 9000 communicator.
Okay.
That's fascinating.
Yeah,
that's sorry. That's some real computer nerd
different
stuff
uses
right
for
there.
it. Yeah, it totally is. But that's really interesting.
Yeah.
I would never have guessed that it would have survived that long.
It was in a BlackBerry. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Although Linux supported it until 2012. Just saying. So.
And finally, Samsung Galaxy Note, no more. They said, or were they wrong? Ice Universe on Twitter suggests that a Note 22 Ultra is actually in the works, mentions a sighting of the middle frame structure. He said, easily identifiable as a Note, also confirms a right-angled design, which is what we're used to seeing on the Note. And, again, good track record. I think Ice Universe has a pretty strong record as far as leaks are concerned. This actually makes sense. Now, we've talked on this show about the Note going away because of the current devices this year having S Pen support. But do recall that Samsung CEO DJ Koh said earlier this year that Samsung faced challenges this year when developing, quote, two high-end devices, but that next year we are preparing to continue to do so. So that's a little bit of hint. Also, a Samsung spokesperson at the time reiterated that the Note series wasn't discontinued, but was being delayed. Of course, then at that point, we didn't know that the Ultra was going to have S Pen support, but we theorized that was probably going to happen. And if that happened, would that be the replacement? So it kind of made sense. Finally, Koh told Bloomberg the timing of Note model launch can be changed, but we seek to release a Note model next year. So there's definitely a lot of clues coming from Samsung in months past to say, yeah, there's no Note this year, but there's no reason to think that there won't be a Note next year. Obviously, chip shortage, has been and continues to be a pretty strong, influence on the market right now. So I don't know. So those of you who love the Note and were disappointed with what you have as the alternative, be it the foldable, the Z Fold 3 and the S Pen support, be it the Ultra with the S Pen support, none of those with a pen that like fits right into the device. They're different devices. You might have something to look forward to. Do you think do you think Samsung should bring the Note back next year? Do you think the market of users is there to support that? What do you guys think?
She's saying no, I'm saying yes.
And I'm maybe.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a brand. We talked about this last week. I think it's prime for a reimagination and another crazy approach.
Yeah,
that's my thought.
And Flo, you do not agree?
Nope.
No, I don't, but only because I see how Samsung is pushing its foldables to just kind of be like, this is what you're getting. This is the status quo. Like, this is what we've moved to. And I'm thinking they'll just keep offering a bigger Galaxy S variant that has that S Pen support to kind of like satiate the people who are really benefiting from that particular form factor. But I would rather see like a small iPad mini situation from Samsung. Have them do like some different tablets. Just, change it up a little bit. I was not a Note user. I'm also thinking about the fact that, let's not forget, tomorrow there's a Microsoft event. And we've been talking a lot about it, but the possible Surface Duo, the next generation one that's supposedly supposed to come. And thinking about that and how it's positioned as a phone and how it's probably going to still be positioned as a phone makes me think that that's where the market is just headed in general. Yeah.
Yeah, we will wait and see because we have no choice. We live this life from year to year, and we will be here next year, God willing, and we will find out what Samsung has up its sleeve for the Note 22 Ultra. All right, coming up next, I would say apps, but it's really more like widgets.
So I want to say it's all about widgets, but instead I'm going to pivot. I'm going to zig where you think I'm going to zag and say, welcome to Widgetapalooza. As we celebrate widgets.
To our widget overlords.
Widget world. Widget world.
I like that.
It's my favorite part of Pixel season is widget world. I mean, that's just the best, it's the best little pocket moment in times of Pixel season. But anyway, so with the oncoming of Android 12 and Material U, we are getting Material U widgets. And first up is Google Calendar. It's full of wonderful rounded corners and dynamic color that makes you feel so warm and fuzzy. And it also includes a new feature that didn't exist on the previous version of the widget, a plus icon action button for adding a new event to your calendar.
Whoa, wait a minute. Hot shot. Yeah. Wait a minute. Back up.
I'm telling you.
What was that?
It's a button to add an event to your calendar.
Whoa. That's amazing.
What more do you need?
It is. There it is. It's a plus icon.
Mm-hmm. It's a plus icon.
Years in the making, everyone.
So being able to not only see your calendar in the widget, but now add things to your calendar via the widget. I mean, amazing. Android 12 we're never going to be the same after this. So
amazing. That could be my favorite thing of Android 12.
Well, I mean, the next one's going to challenge your favorite thing, Jason, I think. Flo, what's the next one?
The next one is going to be new Google Drive widgets. Yay! No, but in all honesty, Google Drive widgets, they're really pushing the idea of the Google Workspaces, the app suites, and Google Drive is part of all that. So the design layout will depend on how you size it. There will be Drive Quick Actions, which is the primary widget. When shortened to 3x1, to a 3x1 square, it shows a single shortcut to open the app. And as you drag the widget and make it larger, more shortcut buttons will start to appear. At 2x3, the X-shaped squircle, God, I cannot say that word out loud. Squircle looking widget appears with shortcuts in each corner of the X shape. And then all of it is respecting the dynamic color scheme. So whatever wallpaper you have in the background, it will construe to it. So nice little dynamism there, a little refination. I made up that word.
Yeah.
Refination. I also made up that word.
This is only sort of related, but on the tip, on the dynamic color tip with widgets, I can't remember. I think it was Ron Amadio who pointed this out on Twitter. And then I tried it out and I thought it was pretty darn cool. So you see the clock. Here, I'm going to zoom in a little bit so that it's a little bit easier to see. Okay, so you see the clock. It's got the blue hand. When I drag and move it over to the yellow, poof, poof. It pulls the color in real time. That's pretty neat. So I don't know.
Cool.
I don't know why that.
That's pretty.
I don't know why that sparks joy in me. Like I would see Android being the kind of thing where it's like, yeah, once you drop it, then it does its little thinking, and 5 seconds later it goes cha-chunk, and then the color's there. But no, it does it in real time. It's so neat. Anyways, so this dynamic color thing I think is going to be really interesting. I'm curious to know if the dynamic color, like in that case that I just showed off, it kind of implies that dynamic color isn't taken from the entire image, but actually taken from the image that's directly underneath that particular widget. And I wonder how that's going to play with some of these widgets from a dynamic color perspective. Are they going to be taking a single color source and coloring everything that color? Or are they going to actually be actively looking at the space that's directly behind where the widget is and pulling it? And that could be interesting too. But yeah, like this is one example, right? Like it's a pretty green backdrop, but there's those points of cloud. If the cloud was like engulfing that bottom widget entirely, would that widget actually be a different shade of green? I don't know. I don't know the answer.
There's so much new stuff to just like.
Yeah, kind of nerdy, but I like it. But that's not all. Because Google keeps widgets, and we were actually talking about this last week, talking about how Google Keep would be a prime app for this Material You thing because there's so much color in the app already. And then someone pointed out after the show, like, well, they probably aren't going to mess with the colors that you already have there because that's part of your note taking.
Why would they?
Like, yeah, right. Why would they? I was like, okay, that's a really good point. I thought maybe they would like bring that into that interface a little bit. But we're starting to see the app design a little bit, which the first shots, that's what you're seeing right now if you're watching the video version. You know, that dynamic color is coming into some of the UI elements and everything. But as you see on the far right, kind of the colors of the individual notes that you pick, I'm guessing those stay the same, but as what you picked, but who knows? I guess we'll find out when this rolls out. But this is all about widgets right now. This is widget world. And so if you scroll down, Burke, you'll see some of the widgets tied with Google Keep, and very similar things down there to what we saw with Google Drive's redesign. That X-shaped widget, which, that like X-shaped control panel with a button on each of the arms of the X. That's very similar, 3x2 widget there. There are more standard bar type widgets as well that cascade the capture buttons horizontally. And of course, you get your rounded corners, you get your dynamic color, that sort of stuff. It's all about quick capture. So this is, a widget where you tap it to do your voice recording immediately, or you tap it to do a bulleted list, that sort of thing. But there's also a new note list widget, which I think... Oh, no, you're seeing it as well. It's that top one. When it's narrow, it only shows a list of the most recent notes. When it's expanded wider, you also get added shortcuts along the right side. So, in essence, it's super information dense, but I don't feel like it's so dense that it's crowded. I think that's actually, yeah, I'd use that widget. I'd widget that. I'd do that. So there you go.
So is this how we're supposed to Like, is this the essence of Material You? Like, go in and widgetize and get.
It seems like a piece of it. I mean, it really does seem like they're emphasizing the widget aspect of things. Kind of interesting to me that they're doing that. But if what they wanted out of Android 12 was a total visual refresh, I mean, you can only make icons on a screen look different in so many ways. Bringing widgets that are really dynamic and pulling the color and graphical and everything really changed the look of things. It really is a step back in time. Like, we really are going backwards in time.
It's really kind of amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. Totally. All right, Ron, you got the last one.
I do got the last one. And of course, our favorite, the weather widget. It's not alone here, by the way. I'm trying not to get too worried about the fate of the frog, but we'll get that in a second. But so if you saw the weather widget on the latest Pixel 6 teaser ads, 9 to 5 Google actually activated the new widgets in an APK Insight. It is not available for the public yet. But it's a 3x3 diagonal oblong pill that shows the temperature and weather condition, whether it's sunny, cloudy, foggy, rainy, etc. And a more squarish widget that also shows the high and low and location. And yes, the dynamic colors are grabbed from the home screen image directly behind it. So interesting. It takes up a lot of space, I gotta say.
Yeah, but, it does.
Interesting approach to weather. So.
I was looking at that too. Like, a lot of space in between things, especially based on kind of like the grid. Like, you can see on that left side one with the 16 degrees, like, there's so much of that empty space around it. But I guess that provides padding for the other widgets that would be around it. If things were too close, then it might feel, I don't know. Just trying to understand Google's philosophy here.
I mean, someone is making philosophical decisions. That's for sure. I mean, and who knows? We're skeptical. Listen, I feel it's safe to say that right now we are. I mean, Jason, I think you're cautiously optimistic. Yeah. Flo, I would say you're aggressively skeptical over it.
Yes.
And I'm somewhere in between. And really, it's up to Google to win us over. That's what's going to happen. Here.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah. I'm anticipating that I'm going to be won over on this, but I could be wrong.
Yep.
Because I actually do like a lot of what I've seen so far. It's just the proof's in the pudding. When I get it in my hands and get it all laid out, is it going to feel like a wasted space? Or is it going to be like, okay, this feels like a completely different experience? I don't know. We'll have to see. I'm excited for that. All right. Coming up next, we have your emails. Emails, AAA@twit.tv, 347-SHOW-AAA. If you want to send us a voicemail, you can. Flo, you got the first one.
All right, here we go. This one comes from John, whose last name I cannot pronounce, and I don't want to butcher it on air. So I hope you know who you are.
John.
Hi, AAA team. It was great to hear Samsung DeX mentioned by Flo in her review of the Z Flip, even if it was to highlight its absence on that device. I believe that DeX is an unsung highlight of Samsung flagship phones since the S8 has gone through major enhancements, with both wired and wireless connections now to TVs, monitors, and to the DeX app on Windows. The development of lap docks from NextDock, UPerfect, and others now mean that the phone can, for many, be a complete replacement for the laptop, with many flagship phones being more powerful than the average laptop. As Flo pointed out, Android app support on Chromebooks can be a bit flaky, but DeX runs Android apps natively. I would love to hear the team's views on DeX and lap docks. It would have made a great hands-on Android episode. Although lap docks may seem an expensive peripheral, my UPerfect DeX will last through several iterations of my phone. Best wishes from sunny South Wales in the UK. So sunny supposed to be a joke?
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, I've never been to South Wales, but
just based on
I don't think of it as sunny.
I think our English people are asleep right now. But
Sure.
I have never used any of those docks. I've only used the stock Samsung dock for a couple phones ago, and then the Galaxy S7 tablet has DeX built in, which is super awesome. Jason, do you know about the Next dock?
I have not used one. I'm kind of looking at the site right now for it, and I'm actually trying to figure out how much it costs. I mean, no question, there is somebody out there that is like, this is the setup for me. I love DeX. I just want a laptop shell that I can plug my DeX into, and boom, I've got a laptop with a phone connected into it. Like essentially what it means is it's a laptop shell, but all of the smarts are coming in from your phone that's connected directly to it. So like it makes sense to me, but I can't help but look at it and be like, well, why can't the laptop just be a laptop then? And I guess probably the reason for that is either you love DeX and, you know, like why complicate things, or maybe that cuts down on weight, although I don't know that it would really cut down that much on weight, or it's a cost thing. And it looks like pre-order, like I'm clicking on pre-order. Okay, so the next dock with a 13.3 inch touchscreen, it's nextdock.com, by the way, for anyone who wants to check it out. $329 plus shipping. Shipping at the end of this month. So you get a laptop experience for $330 to plug your Samsung device in as the computer running it. I don't know. It's not for me. Like, I don't know that I would do that. But it's for somebody, I guess.
While trying to parse it, you're like, this isn't for me. Like,
yeah, no. Like,
I mean, some people love it, right? I mean, like I've heard people like really, really loving it. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's neat. I think it's a novelty. I don't know. I don't know if I'd use it. Like that's the question is if it becomes your daily main thing, and I just don't know if I would. So
okay. Cousin of Ja is pointing out something that's really helpful. Thank you, Cousin of Ja. You can use it for the phone, but any HDMI dongles and a Raspberry Pi. So it's not just a device that can only be used with DeX. You can find other uses for it. So it could be like an external HDMI screen. So there's some flexibility here. That makes it more valuable to me. That definitely gives it a little bit more value because I'm just not a huge like DeX fan. I've used it enough to know that like, okay, it's great to know that it does it, but I just don't find myself in a situation to need to do it. I have a laptop, and what can I say? I prefer to use the laptop over using DeX. That's just my preference. But knowing that it has multiple uses, that makes it more valuable at $330. Oh, Cousin of Ja's even used it for a PlayStation. Cousin of Ja, send us an email at AAA@twit.tv and give us a review of your next dock. I want to know how you're using it, what you're using it for, what you like about it, what you don't.
Really cool. I would like to hear that too. Yeah.
You can't drop the 411 without the 411.
Yeah, true. Don't they always say that? I don't know that I've ever heard of that actually, but I like it. Yes, send that in. Although I will say we got a ton of email this week, but we got a ton of really, really, really long email. And I hate to say it, if it's too long, like as good as it might be, it's probably not going to make it in the show because it takes so long to edit it down when I've got other emails that are like shorter and easier to include. So anyways, keep it short. But send that in, Cousin of Ja. You don't feel obligated. You said, I'll try. And that's good enough. That's good enough for me. Thank you.
That's good enough.
You don't need to work for us. But if you want to send it in, please do. Ian from Northampton, UK writes on using the various incarnations of Android Auto, Google Maps, driving mode, delete as appropriate for Google's new naming convention. Thank you for the permission. In most parts of the UK, you can get fined and get many points on your driver's license if the police catch you interacting with your phone. There have even been calls for voice commands to be banned. I don't have any form of in-car display, so regularly I use Google Maps to drive around. I often have this running even when I don't need it, as it keeps the voice assistant working. I can then change music, although at the moment my BBC Radio defaults to Apple Music, and get texts read out loud if needed, all without the need for Android Auto. This fills my needs. Not distracting, simple to use. Of course, Ian is talking about the assistant driving mode in lieu of Android Auto. And yeah, thank you for sending that in, Ian. That is a good good perspective, good insight on why the kind of more simplified approach or streamlined approach of Android Auto's of the implementation of automotive mode in Maps might be better than the kind of like fully built out interactive like touch experience that you find in Android Auto. Even though the assistant driving mode has that touch element to it as well, it's based on assistant. And so to a certain degree, maybe that means that it's more intended for voice control when compared to Android Auto. I'm not really quite sure if that's true, but that makes sense to me. So thank you for sending that in.
Cool. Android Auto. I see so much consternation over Android Auto. It fascinates me.
Keeps coming up.
All right. Well, now is the time. This is a long one, and it's a rare long one because we really got to tell you, like Jason mentioned, if you're going to write us an email, keep it short to the point. We love the audiograms, the audio emails or video. Keep those short, less than 30 seconds, but please send them all in. It's fantastic. But that said, we're going to make an exception because rules are made to be accepted, and we're going to give the honor of the email of the week to none other than Donna, who writes in, and everyone sit down. Story time. Donna says, I've been collecting digital music since the Napster days. I also have physical CDs that I've ripped and imported. My collection is rather large. I have over 27,000 songs. I uploaded them all to Google Play Music. Then they got ported over to YouTube Music. So this morning on my way to work, I was in the car, just me and my Google phone paired to my car's Bluetooth when I said, hey G, play my album Tango in the Night. Her response was, okay, playing the album Tango in the Night from your YouTube Music library. That got me thinking. I have a playlist that I uploaded all of my 45s collection from when I was a kid. They are tagged with the album titles 45s. So I asked Google, hey G, play my album 45s. Her response was, okay, playing the album 45s from your YouTube Music library. I also have one obscure song. It's called Medley from Superstar by the Assembled Multitude. I never could find a copy of it to purchase anywhere, so I recorded it from the actual 45. Again, I asked Google, hey G, play my song Medley from Superstar, and she answers, okay, playing Medley from Superstar from your YouTube Music library. It started playing, pops and clicks included. Isn't that the best when you record something on vinyl and the pop and hiss? So good. Anyway, so Donna goes on to say, I tried this on my phone, my Google Mini, my Google Home, and got all the same results. Then when I tried on my Google Home Hub, it played a version of the song that someone else had uploaded to YouTube Music. I never could get it to play my version from the Google Home Hub. So to Ron, I say, give this a whirl and see what happens. I would love to know your results from Donna. And so first off, Donna, I never even thought about this. Because I would think when you're saying play my album, like I didn't make the album. It's not my album. Like, because I know so many musicians, like I'd have a hard time saying play my album Yellow Gold by Jason. Like it wouldn't make sense, right? Like it's not my album. It's Jason's album.
But you could take credit. I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, but I could see where putting in the my moniker in the search term would switch it from the YouTube Music library to your library, and so I'm definitely going to try that. But at the end of your email, you tried it on your Home Hub, Google Home Hub first gen, and it didn't work because it's going to the YouTube Music. It's going to YouTube. There's something wrong with YouTube Music on Google Home Hub, and if I didn't have 9 million other things going on in my life, I'd be on this like Woodward and Bernstein. I'm going to get Google to respond to this and fix this. Email of the week. Thank you, Donna. So.
There you go. That's a good way to test this out. I'd be curious to test it out myself as well. And I'm curious to test this out to say, hey G, play my album Beatles Revolver versus hey G, play the album Beatles Revolver. And I don't know how I would figure this out, but set it up so that there was some way for me to determine that when when I say my, is it actually playing the one from my library versus when I say the, is it playing from YouTube's library? And that's kind of the confusion, the difference there, which, it's a good kind of shortcut around that, I think. So thank you, Donna.
Fascinating. Well, that's how you get the email of the week, Donna.
There we go. Right on. Thank you, Donna. Everyone else, email AAA@twit.tv, and you might be like Donna someday. All right, we've reached the end of this episode of All About Android. Thank you so much for watching and listening. This is the part of the show where we plug and talk about what's going on. Flo, what you got?
Okay, so I actually have a itty-bitty little bit of an announcement to make. To those of you who stuck to the show this long, I'm taking a little break. I will be back in a few months.
And that's, I guess, what I wanted to let everybody know. If you want to follow me, listen, I'll be back in December. I just need to take a little break right now. There's a lot of stuff going on at gizmodo.com, which is where I blog every single day. And so just taking a little bit of a break to focus some efforts over there. And then when I get back, I'll be able to tell you all about everything that's happening. So until then, just please stay in touch. flowrights.tech. That's my feed at gizmodo.com, so you can see what I've been writing. And then I still got my website, florenceion.com. And if you'd like to keep in touch, I am at my Discord, so you can come join my Discord. We could chat. You can find out more about those projects that I've got. So just want to thank you guys for letting me take.
You've been super busy. You've had a lot going on. So yeah, take the time. It's all good.
I did not rehearse what I was going to say, so just so everybody knows, it's, that's where we're at. It's just a little break. I will be back. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Flo. We'll miss you. We'll miss you on the show.
I'll miss you guys too. This was not an easy decision to make, but
yeah, there's
a lot of plates I'm spinning right now, so you know how it is.
Oh, I know how it is. Yep. Yeah, I think we can all relate. So, all right. Good luck spinning the plates.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Thank you, Flo. What about you, Ron? What you got?
Well, I hate to have to follow that with this news that I'm going to be launching a new blog all about my mechanical keyboards. I'm also going to be on TikTok and Snapchat, and I'm going to be doing everything I can to be skeptical of processors and.
Ron is saying is there's big shoes that are going to be
big shoes
behind.
to fill. Someone's really. I'm also launching a Pokemon career, so I hope everyone can follow me along as I play Pokemon Go. And I've also got a box of Tamagotchis that I'm going to unbox live on TikTok, Snapchat.
Listen, this just means tomorrow. Ron pays attention to me, and I appreciate this.
So come over to my Discord and we'll talk about it, and it'll be great. So yeah, that's all I got. Follow me, Twitter, Instagram, RonXO. I'm sick. My kids got me sick, so I'm tired. I'm all congested.
I thought you were really gonna announce something. I was pretty excited.
No, listen, I got all these keys. You need these tools to get the keys on the keyboard. You think the keyboard just works, but there's parts in there.
Yeah.
Mechanical keyboards, the way to go. So follow me on Ron Feed, and yeah, it'll be good.
Nice.
I've been really trying all this branding. What can I say? Thank you guys for supporting me through all of
course. We love you.
Thank you, Flo. Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Burke. Thank you, Victor. Behind the scenes, both of them working their butts off to bring you this show. Bring it to your ears and your eyes. So thank you for doing all that work. Tech News Weekly, at Jason Howell on Twitter, doing things. I'm actually, tomorrow I'll be on This Week in Google. So twit.tv/TWIG. I'll be joining the cast there for some Google talking. So just, check the Twit network. You'll find me. Do not forget, Club Twit is our ad-free subscription tier. We do lots of fun things with Club Twit. Of course, there's the shows with no ads. We also have an exclusive Twit Plus podcast feed. Many times the pre and post show from this show all about Android ends up in the Twit Plus podcast feed because it's always so much fun. And a members only Discord, which today we're actually going to be doing a post show Q&A and then putting that in our Twit Plus feed. So that's going to happen after the show here. $7 per month for Club Twit. If you want to check it out, go to twit.tv/clubtwit. And we appreciate that you do that. But that is it for this week's episode of All About Android. Thank you so much for watching and listening. We publish this show every Tuesday evening. So just check twit.tv/AAA and you will find it there. But better yet, subscribe. Then you don't have to check for anything. It's going to appear in your podcatcher and you can listen and watch as long as the day is long. There you go. All right. We'll see you next time on All About Android. Bye, everybody.
See you in 2 months.
If you find yourself talking to those virtual assistants in your house quite often, or maybe you can make your light turn on and off with the touch of a button, well, Smart Tech Today is the show for you. Join Matthew Casanelli and myself, Micah Sargent, every week as we talk all about smart stuff and the fun that comes along with it.